van, yes, a camper van to book, and then there's a booking. Okay, it's very simple database. Okay, somebody else started recording it. Marvelous. So we have 3 tables. We have an archive table, so don't worry. We have a customer table, we have a van table, whoops, and we have a booking table. Now we're going to start very, very simply on this. And if you want to follow along with me, and I can see people have got, actually it's a really good way of doing it. I'm looking at Lewis's screen at the minute. He's got the call and my demonstrator snapped to one side of the screen, and he's got his own database snapped to the other. And that's going to allow you to sort of follow along. And that's what I want you to do. I don't want this to just be, oh, John's talking, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's going to be boring. Yeah, the next sort of hour, etc. I want you to do this. I want you to follow along with it. So what we've got to do is we've got to try and develop some forms for this. Now, we're going to do a couple of types of forms as we go through this. We're going to do some bog standard data entry forms. And a data entry form is one that's going to capture the information from our customers or about our vans. It's very, very simple. Any sort of data entry form literally takes all the records that are here, all the fields that are here, particularly for van, and gives you an option to enter the new data, yes? To add a new van, to add a new customer. So we're going to start with customer because that's probably the easiest one to do. Now, Access has some idiosyncrasies. It doesn't like working with something if it's already open. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close down everything at the top. And I'm going to go to create. Now, we've done this before. We've done it when we've done queries. We've done it when we've done everything else. Create is if you want to create a new table, new form, new report, new query. They're in there. Now, I'm going to show you the cheaty way first. Now, I'm unashamedly going to show you the cheaty way. It's not even a cheaty way. It's the way that Access has been built. Because you're going to be in your exam, and some of you are going to have an absolute brain fart. I'm going to be honest with you. Yes? You know what a brain fart is? Yep, where you just can't remember. And what I want you to be able to do is to default back to something that actually get out of jail free card. And if we look here in the form section at the top, so we've got templates, tables, queries, forms. In forms, there's a form wizard. Marvelous. Brilliant. Love it. Yes? A form wizard is going to do it for us. Now, I'm going to create a form for my customer. Now, what I've got here is all the fields that currently exist in my customer table, and I'm going to bring all those across. I'm going to go next. I can choose how I want it to look. Yes. I'm going to use columnar, apparently, and open the form to enter the data. I'm going to go to give it a name. Now, when you name stuff, and you'll see this in the mark scheme after break, it does say using proper naming conventions. Now, is this a table? What is it? Form. So I'm going to change it to FRM. I'm going to use that naming convention because if I call it TBL customer, I'm going to get confused with TBL customer. No, I'm not going to call it TBL customer because that already exists and is going to screw everything up. I'm going to call it TBL customer Mark II. Yes.
When you say they ask like big names or whatever, does that mean that it has to be like hyphenated or underscored, or can it be camel case?
Can be camel case, I believe, but it's got to have that prefix. Ta-da! Done. Marvelous. Let's all go home. You've all made a form. If you've done nothing else in this, yeah? Please tell me everybody's made a form, because if we've fallen down at this point, we all need to go home. Now, what we've got, and what you'll notice about this form, is what? If you look down the bottom, it's already linked to the data in my database. The whole point of data entry forms is to stop people getting to the back end of my data. That's why we put it in there. Yes? you notice anything wrong with my form?
Do you not have booking ID?
No, because it's customer form. This is just for new customers. So Riley's just asked me, do I have a booking ID in it? No, because all I'm doing is new customers. Connor? It's already got somebody's data inputted into it. Oh, don't like that. Yeah? I can see it. And don't get me wrong, there are certain situations where I want to see people's data. But if this is a new customer form, I want to tweak it. So we're going to do something now. We're going to go to right at the top, at the left-hand side, and we're going to go to Design View. You've seen Design View before. Design View exists in, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to play here. Hold on a minute. Oh, no, I don't want to do that one. Go away, go away. Just 1 minute. I want to do something silly now. No, I'm not. I'll do it after break. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to go to Design View at the top. We've seen Design View before, but it lifts us out of what the end user is going to see in Form Layout View and allows us to start messing around with it. Now, what you'll notice is a load of grid lines on there, etc. Now, it's important, and this may seem simplistic, and some of you are sat there going, I know all this. Well, good for you. Marvellous. You can do very well. It's important you understand what you're looking at. Because I think the biggest problem with forms and the design view are when you do reports and you do forms in Access is this property sheet on the right-hand side. You need to know how to read this. Are you going to change all these properties? No. Do you care about all these properties? No. But being able to read which one it's focusing on, you're right, Connor? Yeah? It's not that depressing. So if you, at the minute, if I click in this grey area just to the right of everything, you'll see that on the property sheet, it goes to what? Form. If I click in the grey bit at the top, it goes to form header. If I click on the white bit, it goes to detail. It's important that you know which bit you're working with. Okay, because when you come to edit it, which we're going to do in a minute, you're going to need to be able to understand the difference. Now, the other thing to note is on the right and left-hand side here, we've got customer ID. What is it?
Label.
It's a label. Now, we haven't talked about labels as data capture because they're not. What is the purpose of a label? Aaron? To tell you what it is. Exactly. So you're telling the customer or the end user what you're expecting in the text box or the drop-down box or the radio button. So every option, everything you give it has to have a label down there, without question. Connor? So if you haven't got the property sheet up when you go to Design View, so we go to Design View, yes? Just at the top under Tools, you've got Property Sheet, Property Tools, yeah? Now, Connor said earlier, we've got access to everybody's data on this, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a data entry form. Now, when this coursework was done, this was one of the things that those guys had to ensure was done. So I'm going to click in the grey area here, and I'm going to go to the property sheet, make sure it says form, and I'm going to go to data. So I'm going to repeat that. I'm going to go grey area here. So it says form, and I'm going to go to data. Everybody still with me? Scott's group, you okay? Marvellous. There we go, they're waving now. Now, it's really simple. There's no magic code. There's no magic words. There's no complex SQL that you need to stick into this. You just go to the right-hand side. You find the property called data entry, where, ironically, there's a drop-down box. And you click yes. And what it tells Access is that this form is not going to allow you to cycle through all the data in that table. It's going to create a new data entry for that table. And if I go back to form view now, what do I notice about my form? There's no data. This is a blank form. It's like me giving you a blank piece of paper and saying, fill in some data. That's what it's doing. Everybody happy so far? Are you all following along with me?
John, can you just repeat that again to delete the data, if that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
There were a few issues in my group to catch you up.
So I'm going into design view. I've made sure I'm not on detail, I'm not on form header, I'm not on the title. I'm going to the grey area on the right-hand side, and I've gone to form. Now, what you'll probably see is all this thing. Now, these headings, these options at the top, format, data, event, other, all has got all of them in, strangely enough. And data is the one we're looking at here because we're affecting the data element of that form. Now, all you do then is you go down to data entry, yes, and you make sure in that drop-down box you select yes. Now, we'll get to record source and all the rest of it in a moment. But we've done very, very simply, without really any thought, created a data entry form. And if you're sat in your exam and you're panicking and you're stressing and you're not sure, then do one of them. Yes, might not have everything on it, but it'll get you some marks. Okay? Now, that's the boring way of doing it. Now, I could show you how we're going to edit these things and all the rest of it, but I'm going to save that for when we create it from scratch. And this is going to be a little bit more on you. So, I'm going to go back to create. And you can keep this. This is your sort of canvas, if you like, to practice and play. And there's no way of getting it wrong, because if you get it wrong, you either delete the form or I send you the file again. Yeah? This is the space to get it wrong. So I'm going to go create, and this time I'm not going to Form Wizard. I'm going to go to blank form. I'm going to do it from scratch. Okay, and this is where you're going to get more control. So to repeat that, I've gone to create at the top, and I've gone to blank form, and I get a blank form. It's boring, yes? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to edit this. So I'm going to go to, click on the form. I'm going to go to home, because if I go to create, I won't get it. I've got to go home, and I go to design view, and we get this main form. Now, there's no header on there. There's no footer on there at the minute. We've just got the main area, the canvas in which we're going to create this. And again, I'm hoping you and the other groups are following along with this. Now, I'm going to make sure my property sheet is open here. And I'm going to make sure it's set to form. Now, the first thing we're going to try and do here is, or first thing we've got to do, what's the first rule of computing? Anybody? They're stupid. Now, the last one we did, it's already linked to the customer form, yes? Is this one linked to a customer form at the minute? No, not at all. So the first thing we need to do is make sure, before we start adding fields in and all the rest of it, first thing we need to do is link this form to one of our tables. You okay over there, guys? All good? No, listen, I'm not adverse to people helping each other out. Yes, I want to encourage that. Scott Smith's got a mass of people in his room. I'm delivering in my room, and Aaron's got a huge amount of people in his room. So if you are helping each other, absolutely go with it. Is this making sense? Okay. Are you learning something? Brilliant. Fantastic. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to, make sure we click the grey area here. And we're then going to, in fact, I'm going to try and move my camera a little bit, and I'm going to take off my background. So that hopefully you guys can see a little bit more. There we go, what I'm clicking on. Okay? There we go. So I'm clicking on this grey area here. It's not great, I grant you, but it'll have to do. I'm then going to go over to the property sheet, which is at the top right here. And I've made sure I've got form, and I've gone to data. Now, the very, very top option is record source. Now, this is why it's so important when you're doing database design, and this is why it's so hard. I realise I've cut my head off now if I stand forward, is table structure, relationships, normalization, which is hard, has to be done first. Otherwise, this bit and your queries and everything else falls down. So record source, if we click the drop-down box, if my fingers, what's in my list that I've got in record source? All my queries and my tables, yes. Now, we can do forms for queries. We can do that. And, you know, Aaron showed us last week how we can create a little pop-up box, yes? Dialog box that pops up. Actually, we can do the same thing through the forms and actually really finesse how our database looks. But for now, we're just looking at customer. So I'm just going to select customer, TBL customer. Now, if you want to verify this, that you're doing it right, if I go back to the pre-existing one, click on detail, what do you notice? We're doing the same thing, nothing different. And I'm also going to change it to data entry. So I'm doing a bit of repetition here to try and help it sink in, not to try and be boring. Riley? Have you clicked on the ellipsis? If you click on the ellipsis, so what Riley's had, if I'm correct, is when he's gone to record source, if he's clicked on the ellipsis, you invoke the query builder on the table. Do you want to create a query based on the table? In this case, oh, didn't give you the pop-up. Well, that's probably because I've already got one in there. Yes? If you haven't, it'll go to that. So we just want the drop-down box. I make no apologies about repeating this, okay? Because this is about you becoming more and more confident with it. Now, Access, unlike other tools, I mean, Access has got a lot of quirks and a lot of things you wouldn't use it for. You wouldn't use it for massive databases. But at the minute, we've got no way of adding stuff in. Now, there's two ways we can add fields to a blank form. There's the medium way. Yeah, so we've done the easy way, where it does it for us. And then there's the medium way. And we can use this option at the top right here called Add Existing Fields. And you've got all the fields, which is why we do record source first. We've got all the fields that are related to that table. And you know what? I can just drag them on. Oh, look at that. Marvelous. Oh, lovely. Yeah. Oh, brilliant. But what's the problem with that? I'm going to, yeah, I've got title on there. I've got contact status. Any problems so far, given what we've been doing so far this morning? Pardon? They're not organized, but you can move them around. Yes? We can decide how we want to select them and put them in order.
Hold on, Matthew Wilcoxon's got something to say.
Hi, Matt Wilcoxon.
Directed input.
Directed input, validation techniques. All right. So what we need to do is I'm just going to delete them off of mine, and I'm going to show you a different way to do it. So again, more control on what we do, and we can drag them over. And then we can go back to property sheet, and we can start to edit these ones, and we can mess around with these. And you can see on here, input mask, validation, rule, validation text, all those things that we can do there. But we're going to come back to that in a minute. So I'm just going to get rid of these. I'm going to leave customer ID on. Now, what you'll notice, if you move the text box, the thank you, label will follow it. If you move the label, the text box won't follow. So customer ID, we're going to build this up, okay, is an auto number, I believe. Okay, so there's a couple of ways, and we're going to talk about validation. So I'm just going to open the customer table as well alongside this. I'm going to go into design view. Yes, I know. Oh. Oh, hold on a minute. Right. Oh, go away. Yes. Right. Okay. Now a presence check. How do we add a presence check to our data? Now there's no way really on, unless Scott, Aaron or Tommy are going to tell me otherwise, of adding a presence check to our form. Okay. The presence check has to be done when we build the table. Now if we look here, we've got customer ID. Now what is a primary key? Let's go back. Let's repeat what a primary key is. Anybody? Anybody there? Put it in the chat. What's the primary key?
I want to do something cool just to energize this room.
Yeah, please do.
Everyone's got to shout out the answer in 3. Shout. When I don't go, shout. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, what a! I heard the noise from here, Scott.
That's what I heard. Right, let's try it again. 3, 2, 1. That's better.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah. We can get there.
It's a unique identifier, and Scott's absolutely right. It's a unique identifier, and if we don't have, in fact, Max has put it in there, and Harry's put it in there, Jake's put it in there, loads of people put it in there. If you don't have one, yes, it's going to break your database. So a presence check is always something you're going to get away with, and one of the things I want you to remember in your exam is which fields can I get away with those validation techniques. And a primary key is an essential one. So if I click on the primary key field, obviously the bits at the bottom here will change for every field I choose. But I'm going to choose customer ID. Now, if I go down to the bottom, I've still got some of the same validation techniques and options that I've got on the data entry form. Now, because I can either put them on the table or I can put them on the form. But you've got this option called required. Yes? And in fact, yes, indexed. Required is presence check. Yes? If you set it to yes, it means the end user has to put a value into it. And that's what a presence check is. So I've made sure that's in there.
I can't select it. We can't select that, John.
Right. Do you know why? Because I bet you've got your form open. Don't matter. Anyone that's linked to that table.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, I said right at the top of this that it's got some idiosyncrasies about how it doesn't like working with stuff when other things are open. So what I've had to do is close everything down on there and open up customer and then go into it. Yes, which is why we do all that design work and build work first. So I'm going to go back to table at form 2. And we now know that that has got a presence check on it. We know we haven't got presence check up here, but it's got a presence check on it. Lewis. Right. So I closed the form down. Let me close the form. I opened up the customer table, which is where I'm going to work with. I went to design view. I made sure I'd got to the customer ID or the field that I want to install the presence check on. I went down to the bottom where the properties are, and I went to required. Yes? Now, required is effectively a presence check. Basically, you can't leave that blank. Yeah. Now, if I look at forename isn't required. It's a bit silly, but I could put it on there. It's not uniquely to primary keys, but I can, if you do nothing else, put it on a primary key.
John, can I just add a second way to that, if that's okay?
Absolutely.
So if you can get back to that view for me, John, and we'll do it on yours. So every field that you want, when you go to the actual design view of the table, you select the field that you want. So again, if you select surname for me, John, we'll do it on there. Down at the bottom, John's right in saying, yeah, you can set the required field name to yes. What you can also do, a secondary method, the method I was taught, is if you go to the validation rule and click the 3 dots for me, John. A validation rule for those programmers in the room that prefer to actually write specific expressions. In here, you can generate essentially the same thing. So if John was to write in there is not null, with spaces between it, please, John. I believe there's a little bit of capitalization, but is not null means the same as that required. So you can use John's method, which is the nice little drop-down box to say yes or no, or you can use my horrible method of using is not null, and then stating a explanation there of what you want them to change, which is what that validation rule is. Validation text is, sorry. So there's 2 different ways. Thank you, John. Sorry to butt in.
No, you're all right. I'm going to try and demonstrate that now. So if I take off required to be no there, what this should do is if I type in something here into this record, you must enter a value into there. Yes? Please enter a value into this. So it's got a, it's I'll clear off. And if you get that error, just keep going escape. Okay? Oh, it was in surname, wasn't it? Sorry. So if I put 9 in there, I thought it was the thing. So if I put surname, leave surname blank, please enter a value into this. It's popping up with my validation text. Yes? So if I clear that, and if you get stuck with that, just press escape because it'll revert back. But Aaron's absolutely right. What we've now done is a validation rule. So is not null basically says you can't have it blank. The validation text is what's going to appear to the end user if they break that rule. Okay, so we've done presence check, we've done validation rule, one of the validation rules.
And at the top there, where it says 255, what checks that?
Oh yeah, there we go.
Which one's that one? Field size, what's that?
What if I change it from 255 to 10?
What's going to happen?
Charlie's said length check in my room.
Length check, yeah. So can you see that a lot of these things are dead straightforward to do now? I'm also going to highlight that input mask is there. An input mask is one of the easiest ones to do because you click on the ellipsis and it gives you stuff to do. Yeah? Marvellous. Do you know how you do a type check? Make sure you put the right type of data in it. Is any of this scary? No, but it's just about having the confidence to implement it. That's all it is. None of this is rocket science. I don't want anybody leaving from here thinking, oh, you know, now I can change the world with databases. You're not. But you'll have the confidence to go, when you get that second part of that exam, which was what validation techniques can you use, this is easy points. Yeah? And this is about developing confidence. So let's go back to our form, form 2. Now, I said we can either, we made sure we've got record source linked to the particular table. We made sure we set it as data entry. We've gone to add existing fields, so we get the existing fields from that table, and we can drag over. But what if we want to use something, what if we want to finesse it a little bit? What if we want to give them some options? What if we want to design our database a little bit more? Well, my granddad was a plumber. He's not a plumber anymore because he's 92. I think he wouldn't get back up off the floor if he crawled around and did it now. But I remember my granddad was little, when granddad was little. I don't remember when my granddad was little. I remember when I was little, he had a tool bag, yes, a really distinct smell. You know, grease and oil and all sorts of different things. I just remember this distinct leather tool bag. And in it, he had everything he needed to do the job. This bit at the top here, where I'm clicking now, is your toolbox. Okay, now you'll see this. If you've done any sort of programming in Visual Studio, you'll have very, very similar tools for interface design. Okay, so I've gone to form, I've gone to form design, and I've got the tools up here. Now, we've got from left to right, we've got the cursor, which means that we can actually navigate and select things on our form. We've got a text box, we've got label, we've got button. I'm not sure what that one is. We've got a link, subform, I think that is, a restricted area. It's I can't remember what it's called. We've got a drop-down box or a combo box. We've got a line, toggle buttons, list box, check boxes. Not sure what that is. Image, radio buttons, and other stuff that I can't remember because I don't use them. But everything you need is there. So we're going to move to title now. Now, we could do title as a validation rule, as Aaron's just said. Or we could do it as a drop-down box. And I'm going to select drop-down box, and I'm just going to drag it. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Why are you not letting me do that? Wait. Might have to do this with the mouse, because my fingers don't. There we go. I've now added a drop-down box, and it's going to take me through a wizard yes, to be able to implement this. Now I'm going to step you through this. I want the combo box to get the values from another table or query. In some cases, you want that to be the case. Yes? If you're getting things like van ID, yes, and we'll look at van ID if we get a bit of time. But I might want to select options from another table. Yeah? But in this case, title doesn't exist in the other tables. I'm going to type in the values I want. And I'm then going to be able to enter them. So I'm going to enter for title, Mr., Mrs., Miss, Ms., Doctor, just as a starter. And I've just typed them in. I've not done anything different, nothing anything complicated with that. Just typed them in and I've pressed next. Now this bit's really important. Remember the value for later use, or do I want to store it in a particular field? And this is why it's so important that we, at the start of creating this form, we go to record source. And we make sure it's linked to a table, because when we do, he says, we get a list of fields that exist in that table. Now I want this to link to title. So I choose title and I press next. Give it a relevant name, not combo 5. I'm going to leave mine as combo 5.
So, do you need to put the store value in this field?
Yep.
Mine says customer ID.
Let me have a look. Yeah, because you've done a select query for that rather than, yeah. Okay. So if we then get rid of that, put it back in, put the values in you want, and it'll sort it. Yeah. Because on your table, so press OK. In fact, press escape. Just press escape. Press escape, the key, escape. ESC, sorry. Yeah, try again now. There you go. Yeah. If you ever get stuck, so I'm going to use Annika as an example. Annika's just got an error that said the primary key can't contain a null value. If you're messing around with forms and it won't let you go back, just hit the escape key. And if you're not sure what the escape key is, it's the ESC in the top left-hand corner. So just to illustrate, if I've now got my drop-down box. I've now forced my end users to select one of 2 options. Yes, or one of 5 options that are in there. Yes? Does that make sense? Brilliant. Now, I'm going to stop talking now. And I want you to play. I want you, for the next 15 minutes or so, I want you to create me a van table, a van data entry form. I want you to create me a customer data entry form. And I want you to create me a booking data entry form. You can use whatever methods we've talked about. You can use the wizards and then edit them. You can do it from scratch. You can use the ones that are on here to help you think about what might be worth putting them on there. Yeah, use them as inspiration. But I want you, over the next 15 minutes, to go through this. Right. Key and I'll come and have a look. Yeah? It is a drop-down box, but I have to go to form view to look at it. Yeah? But I need to edit combo. So I want you to build these. Any questions? So we'll stop the recording there. Whoever started the recording, if you can stop it. I don't know who started it.